This is going to be reflections part 2. So what we're going to talk about is what actually happens to each of the coordinates, like A when A goes A prime, B when B goes B prime, C when C goes C prime. What happens when they reflect over the X or the Y? Before I get into that, I'm just going to show you an example of reflecting over the y-axis. So let's say I'm going to try a different color. We're going to stay with this first grid. And I'm going to say, let's say my point here is G. So this is point G. And I'm going to reflect point G over the y-axis. Well, the y-axis is actually the line that goes vertically. So that's the y-axis. So as if I were to fold over the y-axis this way, where would G land? Well, G would land right here, so we would call that G prime. So that's if I were to reflect over the y-axis. Now the original coordinate of G is -5, -5. Now when I reflect it over the y-axis, let's see what the new coordinates are. 5, -5. So G prime is 5, -5. Now this is the first example, but notice what happened to the x value. These are the x values, these are the y values of each of your coordinates. What happened to the x and what happened to the y? Well, I can tell you the y looks like it stayed the same. It didn't change. So when we reflected over the y value stayed the same, but the x value changed its sign. Let's see if that's true when we talk about reflecting over the x-axis. Let's see what happens when we reflect over the x. So in this case, this was a reflection over the y-axis. And we notice that the y value stayed the same, and the x value changed its sign. Okay, so it was originally negative and then it was positive. So let's see if that's what happens when we reflect over the x-axis. What happens? So again, this is the x-axis, and I'm going to take this point right here, which is going to be -4, 2. So let's try that point, and we'll call that H. So point H is going to be -4, 2. And we're going to reflect that again over the x-axis. So again, when we do that, we have to make sure that the point is going to be equidistant from the line of reflection, which is the x-axis. So if it's 2 above the x-axis, we have to go 2 below the x-axis, and that we call H prime. So let's see what the coordinates are of H prime. Well, we go -4, -2. -4, -2. Let's see what happened here. Well, look, this is the x, this is the y, this is the x, this is the y. What happened to the x value? The x value stayed the same. And what happened to the y value? It looks like the y value was positive and then it changed to negative. So the y value changed. So sometimes you'll hear it's multiplied by -1, so it doesn't matter. If you multiply a negative by -1, it'll change to its opposite sign, a positive. And if you multiply a positive by -1, it'll change to a negative. So hence the reason we say that we multiply the coordinate by -1. So if you notice, one way to remember this is if you reflect over the x stays the same. And if you reflect over the y stays the same. The other one changes its sign.